Hello, my name is John Gushu. I work with CBC here in St. John's. I'm delighted to be part of this event, and we're going to be talking today about diversity, inclusion, and what that can mean in different contexts and how people live their own lives. And I'm really excited to be part of the panel that you see on top of the screen. And I'm going to bring in some of the individuals. And the first person I'm going to go to is Yohei Sakai. And Yohei, I'm wondering if you can tell me, in your experience, in your life, what does diversity and inclusion mean to you, and what does it look like?
Yes, if those who know me, I'm the founder and also the artistic director of St. John's Gay Men's Chorus, and myself, I identify as gay, and I'm from Japan. And when I was a small child, there was no connection with the LGBTQ community at all. So my gay life, I could say that it started since I left my country. And for me, diversity and inclusion ties to that. I don't have a lot of regrets in my life, but I wish that I had that connection with the community. And that's the reason I'm doing this Gay Men's Chorus and some activism in the LGBTQ community. And I'm so happy that St. James has been always supportive to our community, because you may know many LGBTQ community members, they have very complicated, difficult relationship with religious institutions. So by seeing what St. James is trying to do to reach out to us, it really encourages us to have a great, healthy and open relationship. And I'm so happy to tell you that St. John's Gay Men's Chorus have been singing at St. James for at least from the last year as a rehearsal venue there. And also we have been participating in their events for quite a long time now. And I'm so happy to have this great relationship with the church.
That's really great to hear. I'm wondering if we could go next to Marion Penny, who I believe is both an artist and accountant, is perhaps at the same time. So Marion, I'm wondering if I could put the same question to you. What does diversity and what does inclusion look like in your life and in your world?
I guess just by way of background, I'm from Central Labrador, and grew up there, and St. John, Portugal Cove is my home now. I actually belong to Susan's other church, Memorial. I guess for me, diversity, I've always grown up, I was always around of a diverse community. My hometown was home to Inuit, settlers, and military people from all over the world would come to the nearby base in Goose Bay. And so I was exposed to people from everywhere and for all my life. And I find Newfoundland, when I came here, was not quite as diverse. And I used to get a lot of strange questions about where I was from and what country I was from, and they didn't believe I was from Newfoundland and all different kinds of things. But that's changing a lot, and I'm seeing a lot of that here today. I always enjoy being around lots of folks of different backgrounds, and I think for me, inclusion means being recognized that yes, you may be diverse, you may be different, but we're going to celebrate all those differences and everybody's welcome here. And Susan always does a good job of that at the beginning of her services by doing the land acknowledgement. That's something as an Indigenous person I really appreciate, and she includes everybody. And even when I go to the National Treasurers Forum, the CFO always does a land acknowledgement for the Toronto area where the treasurer, I guess the main office is. And he lists just about every Indigenous group in Canada, I think, that makes their home in Toronto now. So it's really nice to feel like I'm part of this big inclusive community.
I think it's always important for everyone to be part of a community too.
Yes, definitely.
Yeah. Susan, can I bring you into this conversation?
Sure.
I know maybe a little bit reluctantly, but
I hadn't planned on being part of the conversation, but that's okay.
Life throws you lots of surprises. So I'm wondering, Susan, if I could ask you with the church, but also when it's outside times of worship, diversity and inclusion must be on your mind 7 days a week. Tell me about how that manifests itself.
Oh, well, of course, as a church leader, we try to reach out to everybody, make everybody comfortable within our space, within our times together. So we always have to be looking out to the community in those off times, as you say, when we're not worshiping together, to look to who isn't included, so that we can make the welcome for them, whether it's the LGBT community, Indigenous community, people of color, people with different abilities, mental and physical disabilities, and so we just have to be on the lookout for everybody and make sure that within our communities we're conscious of making space and making welcome, and not in a superficial way, but in a real welcome. You are part of this community.
Interesting. That's fantastic. I imagine that for a lot of people of faith, that diversity and inclusion may or may not be something that they're conscious of, but I think it's important to recognize that at St. James that it's top of mind. I'm wondering if I could bring the conversation to our final participant. It's Josh Schmee. And Josh, I'm wondering, for in your world, what does diversity mean? What does inclusion mean?
Yeah, thanks for the question, John. I think so. So I work with Food First NL, which is an organization that supports food security in the province. And so I think we come at this question a couple of ways. I often think about it in terms of what do we need to put in place to make inclusion really meaningful. So we know that so many people in the province are facing some pretty significant barriers in terms of their food insecurity. It's almost 15% of households in the province, and that's much higher among single parent households, and there are other marginalized communities. And so even thinking about that in our own work from a day-to-day standpoint, you know, if I'm hosting an event or a discussion, what barriers could we drop to make it possible for people to participate? So, you know, that might be things like offering them meals and childcare. Those kind of day-to-day pieces of inclusion are really important to us in our own work, but also just thinking about how many of these amazing folks that we work with around the province are excluded from spaces because of barriers that they're facing around poverty and income in particular. So I think we often think about it in this kind of barrier way. And then, but more broadly, I think, you know, diversity manifests itself in the food system in so many interesting ways. I think there's such a wide range of relationships we have to food and to the history of our food systems and to how food plays into our family lives and our personal lives. It's this funny place where this like very intimate personal story that you have and the cultural story that you have and the political kind of position that you are within society all connect. And so I think it's really valuable from our perspective to be hearing from folks who've come at that from different ways, because you can ask the same question or tackle the same issue in some really divergent and constructive ways in the food space. And so I think like a big push for us is to broaden the voices in the conversation about food.
Fantastic. So I think we're out of time, or at least the amount of time that I was told that we had. So Susan, Josh, Yohei, Marion, seeing everyone on top of the line. Thanks so much for taking part of this conversation today, and have a good one.
And thank you, John, for moderating this.
Thanks. Nice to meet everyone.
Nice to meet you too.
Yeah.
Bye-bye.
Thank you all.
Bye.
Bye.